Now live.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew Zale, Vice Chair for the board. Today, I'll be presiding over this meeting on behalf of Paul Guevara, who's participating virtually. Happy New Year's, everyone. Now, welcome to the Board of Dentistry's hybrid meeting being conducted virtually and live. This meeting is being recorded. I'll take the board roll call after the video and information is provided on the internet and phone access for today's meeting. A short video will be shown now to explain the procedures for this virtual meeting.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras. Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
At this time, we're going to do the instructions for the internet and phone access. Kathy, could you please read the instructions?
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy.
Internet access. To view the meeting and provide live testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You'll be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will also be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any entry in an email format. For example, ... at ... mail.com. Your microphone will automatically be muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about the agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. Phone access. If you cannot get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the phone number listed at the top of the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you will be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. After entering the meeting ID, you'll be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted into the meeting. You will not have a panelist number. So please wait until you are admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If connection to the meeting is lost before the 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time. This information will be provided on the board's website at https://cca.hawaii.gov/pvl/boards/dentist/boards-meeting-schedule/ instruction to attend the meeting, instruction to attend State of Hawaii virtual board meeting may be found at https://cca.hawaii-virtual-board-attendee-instruction.pdf.
No, thank you, Kathy, for reading that out. For the record, I just want to make note regarding the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was filed with the Office of Lieutenant Governor and posted on the state electronic calendar as required by HRS Section 92-7B. Next, I'll be doing roll call. I'll do roll call for members in attendance. Please indicate if you're alone or someone else is present. Paul Guevara.
Present and alone.
Wallace Chung.
Present and alone.
Wesley Choi. Wesley Choi. We'll go back and ask if he's on later. Staff Fujimoto.
Present alone.
Kathy Fukushima.
Present alone.
Jonathan Lau.
Oh, Dr. Lau, you're on mute.
Present alone.
Okay. Joy Shimabuku.
Present.
Joyce Yamada.
Present and alone.
Craig Yamamoto.
Present and alone.
Okay. And I'm present in person. Wesley Choi. Is Wesley on?
Yeah, he's on. Dr. Choi, we can't hear your audio. No.
Maybe you can fix it. I'll just move
Yeah.
on.
Dr. Choi, we'll try and troubleshoot your audio. We see you, but we can't hear you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. In addition to the board members, we have Executive Officer Sheena Choi and Chelsea Fukunaga. Also participating virtually is the Attorney General Brian Yee and other staff to help with the virtual side of this meeting. Just want to confirm that we have quorum. I'm calling this meeting to order. Start time for this meeting is 10:10 a.m. Just a quick reminder for the board. Board members participating virtually, please remember to mute your microphone if you're not speaking. If you need to step away, please announce that you're doing so, and please indicate when you return. Thank you.
And as a reminder, if everybody can state their name before they speak, so everybody knows who's speaking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next thing we'll do is approve the open meeting session minutes from October 20th, 2023.
November.
I'm sorry.
November 20th.
I'm sorry, November 20th, 2023, sorry. Is there any public testimony?
Yes,
Yeah.
Dr. Joseph Mayer.
Would you mind coming onto the camera, please?
Okay. Off camera. And Dr. Mayer, would you mind identifying the organization, if any that you represent?
I'm a member of the general public.
Okay, perfect.
I don't represent anybody.
Okay.
Just
And-
if you did, thank
And a
you.
reminder that you have a maximum of 5 minutes.
All right, well, it won't take me that long.
Okay.
Again, my name is Joseph P. Mayer Jr., DDS. I noticed, reading the October minutes, the
November,
board minute,
November minutes?
yeah, November meeting,
Mhm.
but when I read the October minutes, I noticed that the board is paying strict attention to the sunshine law and being in compliance with it. And so, because I recognize that that is your intent,
Mhm.
I am pointing out that in regards to the November 20th meeting,
Mhm.
okay, under the executive session on page 17, the board did not report out of the executive session regarding what happened or was concluded. So I have made a copy for the board to review of the sunshine law that is applicable to that portion of your minutes so that you can, going forward, meet that requirement. Thank you for your time and consideration.
No, thank you, Dr. Mayer, for your
you.
comments.
And sorry, could I ask a question? You clarified, you said when you looked at the October minutes, just clarifying, you meant the November minutes?
No,
Because the board did not meet in October,
but what was the previous meeting to November?
September.
Well, then in the September minute,
Mhm.
you'll notice that there is a large section in regards to the sunshine law.
Mhm.
And so, having reviewed that,
Mhm.
I understood your intent
Mhm.
to be that you want to be in compliance.
Mhm.
That's why I'm providing the.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
No,
But
thank
this
you.
doesn't apply to.
Is there any more public testimony at this time? See no public testimony. Public comment is closed. Are there any comments from the board at this time?
Just like to comment that we went into executive session as announced in the September meeting to discuss applications. And so we did note the decision of the board after we came out of executive session. And since it's private confidential information related to the application, we do meet this requirement by reporting what the board's decision was.
Was that reflected in the September minutes?
So that would be reflected, yes, in the September minutes. Mhm.
But you went into executive session in November.
So,
According to your minutes that I'm reading today,
mhm,
there was also an executive session
mhm.
that took place in November.
Okay, yes,
And
and
so-
we did.
Coming out of that meeting,
Mhm.
you are also required to provide a report,
Mhm.
even though it was on confidential information.
Mhm.
And it could be something as simple as consulting with counsel
Yeah.
regarding privacy of the applicants applying for licensure.
Sure,
But
so,
it's just a report.
okay, yes, thank you.
So,
in the-
Chelsea, if I could just comment, I think I understand what he's saying. What he is saying is that there should be reflected in the minutes and stated at the meeting.
Mhm.
And because in this case, the entire discussion was essentially confidential. When we come out of the session, we would report that we have concluded our discussion on the applicant information and consulted with our Deputy Attorney General. The
Mhm.
contents of that discussion could not be disclosed because those remain confidential, but the fact of the conversation is to be reported.
Okay,
I think is all he's trying to say. And that we didn't, in this particular case, we did not reach any vote or any conclusions. We just had the conversation. The vote was done in open session. So I think all he's trying to say is there should have been a report that simply said, we discussed the applicant information and consulted with our AG, Deputy AG.
okay, thank you, Brian.
No, thank you for those comments and clarification. At this time, are there any board minutes regarding the open session minutes? Okay, why don't we move on? Can I get a motion to approve the open session minutes for November 20th, 2023?
This is Chair Guevara. I make a motion to approve the minutes,
Okay.
to accept the minutes.
Joey, second. Okay, good. Would you vote? Please say aye if you approve.
Oh, any nays, recusals, or abstentions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any nays, recusal, or exceptions,
Abstentions.
abstentions?
Mhm.
No? Okay, good.
So seeing none, all in favor?
Say none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Okay.
We all raise our hand.
Okay, motion carried. Next step is approval of minutes for November 20th, 2023 board meeting executive session minutes. Are there any public comments at this time? No, because we're private. I was advised to ask for public comment, so. Okay, see no public comment at this time. Public comment is closed. Is there any comments from the board or discussion? See no comments or discussions from the board. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes, executive session minutes for November 20th, 2023?
This is Chair Guevara. I make a motion to approve the executive session minutes.
Thank you.
second.
Okay. And at this time, are there any people objecting, abstention, or abstaining or recusing self on the vote? No. Can everybody say aye if you approve? Aye.
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 I,
Okay, motion, thank you, motion carried. At this time, I'm gonna ask Executive Officer Troy to make an announcement. You did wanted to comment regarding public comment, or did you want to defer it?
Were you wanting to reorder the agenda?
I was gonna reorder the agenda afterwards.
Uh,
You can make the comment later if you want.
No, I don't have any comments.
Okay, no comment, okay. So I just wanted to, for the record, the board may move into executive session in accordance with HRS section 92-4 and section 92-5A1 and 4 to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for professional or vocational licenses cited in section 26-9 or both, and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. For the record. Next item for the agenda would be item number 3, new business.
If you wanted to, okay.
Oh.
No,
Okay, so at this time, I did want to do a recommendation on the order of the agenda at this time. I wanted to recommend moving agenda item 3E to the first agenda item under new business. This matter on the Sunshine Law and public comment period is probably best being addressed at the start of the meeting. Any public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Any board comment? Discussion?
I'm sorry, on 3, is this whether or not, you're just doing whether or not to move the matter?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, okay,
So what I want to do for, just to make sure it's clear, is moving item number on the agenda 3E to the start of the new business.
okay. You're fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any motions to move this agenda
I don't
item?
think you need to vote.
I don't,
Yeah,
okay,
Since
just-
we're not changing anything, it's just the order.
okay, good. Okay, great. That sounds great. So we are going to be discussing item number 3E first. So item number 3E, written testimony from Dr. Joseph Mayer regarding HRS section 92.1, sunshine law and public period. And at this time, can I ask Executive Choi,
Mhm.
if you can just read the substantive part of the letter?
I can, would you like to read your letter, or we have a copy of your letter here?
I have a copy of it.
Okay.
I'd be more than glad to read it for you.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Mayer, if you don't mind reading it.
Got my 5-minute timer.
Thank you.
official. Again, my name is Dr. Joseph P. Mayer Jr., just a member of the general public interested in board activities. On January 3rd, I approached the board both by email and by snail mail regarding the procedural issues, public comment period at the dental board meetings, referencing Sunshine Law, Hawaii Revised Statutes 92.1. Aloha, Ms. Choi. I would appreciate requests of the board to add to the next agenda a review of the current public comment period in compliance with Hawaii Revised State Statutes 92.1. Currently, closing the public comment period, as was done at the November 20th meeting, prior to the board's discussion of their concerns or focus, does not allow additional public input to address the board's concerns. Quoting from the Sunshine Law, opening up the government process to public scrutiny and participation is the only viable and reasonable method of protecting the public's interest, end of quote. I continue. Permitting the public to add to the discussions, deliberations, decisions, and actions of governmental agencies would thereby comply with the Sunshine Law policy and the intent to conduct meetings as openly as possible. Please confirm the date of the next dental board meeting. The November 20th, 23 agenda lists January 22. The board website lists February 5th. Hard copy to follow in the mail. Mahalo for considering my request. Sincerely. My intent in sending this is because, as I said, reviewing the agenda itself, I couldn't discern what the board's issues were with certain items. And it wasn't until after the public discussion period was closed that I then better understood the concerns of the dental board. But because the public comment period was closed, there was no way to address those issues. I realize that according to the tutorials on the Sunshine Law, Part 1, it specifically states that a board can limit testimony to the period of time prior to the agenda being discussed by the board. But then the Sunshine Law also then places the responsibility on the board to prepare the agenda in sufficient detail that a member of the public, your next door neighbor, for example, could read what is on the agenda and understand what your concerns or what was going to be discussed. I'm a practitioner, and if I read your agenda and I don't understand what your concerns are going in, then the agenda needs to either be addressed or perhaps the period for public discussion can be opened again after the board has raised its issues. Thank you for your time and consideration.
No, thank you, Dr. Mayer. I'm going to refer this to Executive Choi.
Mhm.
If you can, you did talk to the legal counsel regarding this, and can you share us the findings
Sure.
about Dr. Mayer's issue?
So, Dr. Mayer, thank you for your testimony, and we appreciate that you're no, you're very well versed in Sunshine Law, and no, we appreciate that. I think it's important for the members of the public to understand what's going on, and your interest in the dental board and what's going on. So thank you for that. We did receive your letter, and thank you for noting the date for the meeting. So all of that has been updated on the board's website. We apologize for that oversight. But with regards to Sunshine Law, so OIP, the Office of Information Practices, they did opine on this matter in OIP S Memo 18-5. So the date is June 28, 2018. And I can provide you with a copy of that after the meeting if you'd like to read that. But they opined on a similar issue, and they said that the minimum requirement for the board to meet Sunshine Law is for public comment comment to be opened and requested before the board begins discussion, so it can, influence the board's discussion and be a part of that. But that's the minimum requirement, so it's actually up to the board's chair or vice chair, whoever's presiding over the meeting, as to the procedures for public comment after the initial public comment is opened, closed, and then the board discusses. So it is up to the chair or the vice chair procedurally on public comment after the initial public comment period is taken. We do understand your concerns about interpreting for openness, but I leave that to the chair and the vice chair. But all that to say is we are in compliance, but I do understand your concerns, and I'm sure the board will take that into consideration procedurally.
I believe I would emphasize your statement that the minimum requirement was. Okay. And so I would ask the board consider, more than what would be the minimum requirement.
And then that would be up to the board. So
And I understand that. And I understand, so is the 5-minute interval. Thank you. I'm done. Are you?
well, I don't know if the board has any questions for you.
I have no questions. Does anybody else from the board have any questions or comments?
This is Chair Guevara. Just to make a comment again, just to restate too, if you can make it record, we are within compliance of how we're operating the board. It is at our discretion to open it back up. And this is just a comment. We are short board members. Dr. Mayer, if you really want to learn how a board works, you can volunteer to be on the dental board. To exactly what we do. Because I'm opening it up to the public. You said you're a practicing dentist licensed in the state of Hawaii. By all means, if you want to see how the board really works, I'm going to say, why don't you put an application in to be a volunteer on the board to see exactly what we do on the board. Again, Chair Guevara, I'm just going to close this, but Dr. Chong, do you have any, or anyone else have any questions? Sorry, I'm just opening back up.
I thank the chair for their very gracious. But I will respectfully decline because my bucket list is a lot longer. I don't have that kind of time. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you, Paul. So the comment I want to make it is, it is a minimum, so we do have, we are going to review this on case by case. It depends on the chair or vice chair, depending on the situation and how maybe complex the issue is, or if other people want to comment, and we'll just take it that and evaluate it at that time.
So yeah, so we have to be standard across the entire meeting. And then I think is what you're saying is if someone like raises their hand or something, you'll consider the
Yes,
comment.
that's correct.
Okay, and once comments are opened again, we have to entertain any other comment, not just an individual.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, thank you. Dr. Chong, or any other comments from the board before we close on this agenda item?
No comment.
Okay, seeing none at this time, we'll go over to item number 3A. Presentation from the Council of State Governments on the CSG Interstate Dental Compact. Matt Schaefer, Deputy Policy Director, National Center for Interstate Compacts. At this time is Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, Matt Schaefer, I will promote you to panelist.
Okay, I just wanted to welcome Mr. Schaefer for coming to our board meeting and being willing to present and give us more information regarding the CSG Interstate Compact on dental and dental hygiene. At this time, I just want to do a friendly reminder, at the last board meeting, we did have the AADB, Dr. G, who actually presented on their version of the Interstate Compact. So we've got a lot of useful information from the AADB, but we did want to provide the CSG the opportunity to learn more about their interstate compact. So when we move forward, we can really evaluate and determine how this impacts our state. So if I can just turn it over to Mr. Schaefer for your presentation.
And Mr. Schaefer, we do have your slides. So Mark will be sharing his screen with your slides. So just give him a cue when to advance, and a friendly reminder, 5 minutes for the presentation, and then we can have Q&A after. Thank you.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you to the board for the invitation. My name is Matt Schaefer with the Council of State Governments, and the presentation today is really just meant to provide some background educational information on the compact. The first thing I'd like to emphasize that the compact was created through a cooperative agreement that CSG has with the Department of Defense. So for about the past 2 years, CSG has been developing the compact language with stakeholders from these professions, including the American Dental Association, American Dental Hygienists Association, state dental boards, and the dental education community. So on the next slide, we'll see how the compact works. So I see the screen's being shared there.
There should be a copy of the slides in the packet. Okay.
I've read it, underlined, and highlighted.
Yes, if you go to slideshow and then yes, from beginning. And then we can skip to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so the compact enables dentists and dental hygienists to obtain what we call a compact privilege to work in states rather than get an individual license in every state where they want to practice. So similar to your driver's license, each compact member state is agreeing to mutually recognize the practitioner's license that's issued by another member state. So you can see here kind of the process. The practitioner holds an unencumbered license. They undergo a FBI background check, verify that other eligibility criteria are met, which we'll go over on the next slide. That practitioner pays fees for the compact privilege and completes any necessary jurisprudence requirements. So if Hawaii required an exam on the Dental Practice Act or specific laws and rules in Hawaii, they would need to satisfy that requirement. And then the compact privilege is issued. And this whole process, based on how this model works with other compacts, takes a matter of minutes. Once you get your initial compact privilege, when you do your background check, you can get subsequent privileges in a very streamlined manner because all of the primary source verification is done on the front end one time and doesn't need to occur subsequently every time you want to obtain a new compact privilege. So on the next slide, we'll look at the eligibility criteria. So I mentioned you have to have an unencumbered license. We call that a qualifying license, active and unencumbered. So no current investigations or current pending disciplinary orders. You have to pass your national boards, graduation from a CODA accredited education program, and that's pre-doctoral dental education and dental hygiene education program accredited by CODA. So a CODA accredited residency program would not satisfy this requirement. It does specify pre-doctoral dental education leading to DDS or DMD degree. Successful completion of a clinical assessment. This is broadly defined to encompass multiple pathways to licensure. So there's multiple examinations out there. The ADEX, many states use the credits exam, CERTA, the Dialosky exam. So it's because there's several different types of exams out there,